The Murloc test.
Murloc.
The sound of a Murloc is actually somebody from Blizzard choking a turkey.
Oh, wow. And hello, everybody, and welcome to this GrindExp number 5. I am your host, probably backseat driver with this podcast, Dreadslife. I am joined by my other two partners, Beta.
Hello.
Yeah, now you just say hello. Yeah. 15 tries at the first take. There we go. And also joined by our newest edition, Quad. Well, not so new, but still newest edition. We're waiting for another new blood to call you like novice.
Yeah, you're always going to be the new person until we get a new person.
We need to get a new person then.
The hunt is on. And so thank you for joining us. We are here, and we're going to try to do these every 2 weeks now. That seems to be a good time frame for information to pitter out from Blizzard HQ, from their oozing brains and mouths to our lovely ears for listening and taking it in. That almost went awry, I admit that. And so we got some stuff to talk about. What do we want to talk about first? We got some Hearthstone, we got some Diablo, and we got some Heroes stuff we want to go over. So, I'll leave it up to you guys. If you guys are going to talk about Hearthstone first, I'll just sit in the background for like 10-15 minutes.
I was thinking maybe we should do the Hearthstone last.
Okay, yeah, I definitely want to put Hearthstone last too, because I know the most about that.
Okay. So
let's do WoW first. I vote we do WoW first.
Okay, fine. We do WoW.
Right.
I forgot about WoW. But then again, that's me.
Yeah, you're not in charge of the WoW section.
Ugh.
He's not
Scoff.
the WoW guy. I am the WoW guy.
I scoff, but I also admit that you're right.
Bring the WoW.
Alright, so WoW guy, you started off.
This weekend, WoW. I just resubbed to WoW pretty recently, and one thing I noticed was that the store is activated and it's going and people are using it and stuff. But the level 90 boost that you're going to be able to get for free when you buy the expansion is very close to being tested in the store. So you're going to be able to buy level 90 character boosts in the in-game store. And I think it's fine having the character boost there. I don't know how I feel about advertising it in the game. It feels like it's a little bit greedy, but I have there's UI mods in the game, and I have UI that pretty much blocks 99% of it. So, but yeah, they added its own little section down at the bottom bar of UI utilities, and it's actually pretty distracting, honestly. But I don't know. If it means that the game goes free to play, like, I would totally forgive it. But considering I'm paying a monthly fee and they're trying to sell stuff on top of that in the game, it's like I basically logged into WoW, picked all the stuff out of my mailboxes, like from BlizzCon, and then I just logged off. I was like, alright, this game's cool. Nice to see nothing has changed. There was barely even a patch update since like the 4 or 5 months I have been unsubscribed, so I wasn't super happy about that. But with Warlords of Draenor just on the horizon, and my theory is that that's going to be the next game that's going to be on the PTR.
It's one of those kind of expected kind of deals.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they always try to say, oh no, we're not gonna go like 5, 8, 10 plus months before the expansion. It always kind of wind up that way.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and then just the normal World of stuff. The Valentine's Day is happening. It's probably about to stop happening pretty soon, I imagine. And then Siege of Orgrimmar is still happening. So not a whole lot of new stuff in WoW yet, but with Warlords of Draenor just around the corner on the PTR, I imagine we're gonna have some pretty exciting news pretty soon.
Yeah.
So, how many times have you been in a situation where you want to be on your friend's server, but you don't want to leave your server?
Quite a few times.
Yeah, when I was playing a lot, the guild was in one server, and they're like, "No, you have to come here." It's like, no. It's like, you do. Okay, fine. But it sucked always leaving a server. I think I was fortunate more than most people in that I was only really between two servers. I could only imagine what some people went through, like server migrations and connecting realms and all that other stuff. Like they kept them, like they may have done as many as 10 times over the course of their character's life.
Yeah, there's also apparently a new PvP season about to start. I was talking to a couple of my friends. We're doing some arenas, and the new season the season is about to end, and there's going to be a new season pretty soon. But yeah, I was testing out. I got a guild invite from another realm, and I thought that was really weird. So that was the first time I experienced the merged realms feature. And then in the guild, it was like, you are from Illidan. And I was like, huh, that's kind of strange, but kind of cool.
So I would like to say, maybe that would be good. You can have a character on your buddy's server instead of transferring. You buy a new one, a new level 90. But, if everything's merging the way it is, why would you buy that level 90? Unless you just want a new class, I guess. Maybe you're just...
You just don't want to go through all the content. It's like, it's like, see, part of the reason why the level 90 boost is so controversial is like when you think about it this way, it's like, so you really want to go through all Azeroth, all Outlands, all of Northrend, and then have to go through all the Cataclysm, and then all through all Miss Pandaria stuff. It's like, for a new player, it's a little daunting, and then when you throw in Warlords of Draenor to get to 100, it's like the content, the grind is a little daunting. But on the other end, making this a short argument, very general one, is if you don't go through all the content and you don't really properly learn how to use all your skills, and you're just kind of given a level 90 with all the skills and abilities, you kind of don't master any of them, and you're really just going off of a YouTube commented build, or you go to any other particular website and just copy a build, and you just play that, and that's the only thing you know, but you don't understand all the stats and statistics behind it. So you're essentially playing MMO, but you're really just playing cookie cutter character, class, and build with the gear that's always been there.
Well, it's like those typical like eBay buyer videos, right? Like, the guy has the max level character, but he has no clue how to play it, and he's like casting all the wrong spells. He doesn't have a rotation. He's just, he's just the floppy player. He's like has no experience with his character. But in my opinion, I feel that the 90 character boost, I don't mind it being the game, but it should have a requirement of you already having a 90. I feel like just being able to skip all the content is probably not a good idea. People should have a run through of some of the original instances and quest lines, and there's good stuff there, and just being able to just like cut that out entirely seems a little odd. I feel that everyone should have to go through that process at least once. But...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just very tricky because one of the YouTubers I follow that does a lot of WoW stuff, DD Guides, he brought up arguments, and one of the arguments was like have a prerequisite, almost like Death Knights. You had to have a 60 in order to make one, and then you had to go through the process, blah 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 blah. But they made it so they can't do it with Warlords of Draenor, because if someone's buying a fresh copy, it's already a box feature. So they don't have any characters, so they can't ever meet the requirement, which kind of sucks, because I err on the side of, well, if you want a free 90, get a 90 first, but they kind of screwed the pooch on that one. They use that phrase.
Sort of like the Death Knight.
Yeah, exactly. But
you want a Death Knight, get to 55.
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's like, and it's controversial because it's the whole slippery slope tinfoil hat kind of thing. It's like if they're gonna do this, and this is how, and this is no matter what people say, this is gonna succeed. There's gonna be people who have money that will use money to bypass months of grind. I mean, we all played Diablo 3, and we saw how people used and abused the real money auction house, and then either brought it to the gold auction house or just, made their characters big and epic. But in the end, especially in a game like Diablo 3, which is a simplified version of WoW as far as RPG elements, it's like once you have the gear, you're done with the game. I mean, yeah, you can go in and try to do like a 15-second kill on MP10 Asmonod, which has been used as a base measure for power and kill time. But it's like you buy your character, you didn't do it, and you play the game to play the game for the experiences. And remember all the times you get those really good pieces of gear. Same thing in WoW. I mean, you play to get to the raids, to get the drops, to earn them, whether you're using a DKP system or you're just happy to get lucky, you get it on a need roll, and that makes the experience of the game, not just buying a character or buying the gear or getting it from this very linear point A to point B kind of system.
Yep. All right. Anything else about WoW?
Other than Warlords of Draenor is looking to be a pretty good expansion if they play their cards right and they don't really screw things up at all. And basically it's the whole scenario with Blizzard is that hopefully they don't overpromise what they show. Everything they show, they put into the game, and everything they put into the game is done well by itself and with everything else, and it works. You want to say flawlessly, but that never happens. Not even with
My
Blizzard.
poor little broken heart not getting a Dota BG in Metz area that was promised.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was promised.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that was supposed to be released for with alpha client.
Yeah. That's
Oh
too
well.
bad. They could have called it Dota.
They
Defense
should.
of the Ale House.
You know what they should have just done? Made it so you can play Heroes of the Storm while in WoW.
Oh,
Perfect.
like playing Hearthstone in WoW. Just make
Yeah,
every other game playable in WoW.
Yeah,
And you go to the Nether Storm and
call
play
WoW Second
Starcraft.
Life, and perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I think I'm looking forward to Warlords of Draenor, just to see how the experience has changed, because I haven't played since the end of Cataclysm. Well, not really end of Cataclysm, since I got 2 characters up to max level within the first month, and then I stopped. So I've been out of it for a while. So if we manage to get some beta keys for us, wink wink, or to give giveaway, always that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about the lore in the game. Just going back in time, back to the Outlands. Outlands was a good time, so should be pretty fun.
That it was.
All right, let's move on to Starcraft. I don't think we have a lot to say about it. I saw Starcraft.
I'll go to the Starcraft website.
Zerg's down.
I'll see what's going on. Well, this happened a while ago, but the latest patch did make the arcade fully featured and free for all trial accounts. So that is a big feature. They were actually talking about that at BlizzCon, that they were going to do that in the next patch. They were going to do it after the new year, which they did. So that's a big selling point. There were, a little balance patches here and there. And as always, setting up for the latest WCS seasons, getting all that ready. And the art tools, patch 2.1 also brought more art tools for use for people to use. And last but not least, I think this actually is a general not just Starcraft, but since Starcraft is their main esport game right now, they announced it through Starcraft, which is T-SPA, capital T, lowercase e, capital SPA, is a membership milestone program, unveils their membership milestone program, which basically means they are a program that helps college, specifically college sports teams, and help them, get them started with chapters and all that other fun stuff, and help support them so they can actually do it between, college and everything else. So that's that pretty much wraps it up. As always, looking forward to Legacy of the Void, which we're about halfway through February, and BlizzCon is usually announced if they're gonna have one, usually March or April of that year. So if there's gonna be a BlizzCon this year, I want to say in my bones, I guarantee that we're gonna see a Legacy of the Void being shown, because Heart of Swarm, I think it's been out for at least a year and a half to 2 years by now. So prime time to start showing off Legacy of the Void, start closing out this several chapters of Starcraft, since they split up into 3 games instead of just having it one. Which single player aspect, which is where I'm coming from, I actually didn't mind that because I like the lore. I like seeing the characters develop. I'm not too much in the multiplayer. I don't think too many of us are into the multiplayer, or at least hard charging, except maybe quad, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that seems to be about it for Starcraft. A lot of small things, but really just waiting up for Legacy of the Void, and also the team that worked on Starcraft, if you didn't already know it, is also developing Heroes of the Storm, because if you look at both games, you notice that they are awfully similar because they use the same engine, even though the engine is kind of tweaked for Heroes. It's basically just new art assets, but in the same game, and all that other kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, so let's talk about Heroes of the Storm. Unless you had something to say, Quad, about Starcraft.
No.
My fail attempt.
Yeah, Starcraft Arcade. A lot of my friends have been checking that out. I haven't got a chance to yet. I've just been too addicted to other things. I'll have to give it a shot. No, not recently. No.
We just went beyond PG-13.
Yeah, I just went there. Went to dark places.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to Here's the Storm. Not so dark.
All right, now I'll just say this very quickly. I like how, in a very general sense, I like how Blizzard, or how the teams are kind of taking learning lessons from Hearthstone, and they're being more interactive in the development process, but in a good way, such as with Hearthstone, I think set a good tempo with their fireside chats. Every 2 to 3 weeks there was a fireside chat followed by a demonstration of the game with a couple of card duels with a couple of developers. Heroes of the Storm is following in that tradition, as in they're having 1 or 2 of the head developers talk about certain aspects of the game. Kevin Johnson, who's Cloakin CM for Starcraft, is also helping out with Heroes of the Storm initially, and he just asked a couple of questions on topic at hand. They've already had 2 of them, and I think they're doing the 3rd one this Wednesday. I will try to quickly figure out when they are, of course. Ill-prepared as usual. Yes, Q&A session 3, Wednesday, February 19th. And can we see what time? 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that will be another Heroes. And it seems like every Q&A, beta isn't such a bad word to say. So I'll leave it there, and if you guys want to take over.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely gonna try out Heroes of the Storm. It's hard for me to get excited over it without having the client available.
Without having without having like 10 hours played within the first day, kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. Without having the client available, I mean, I'm not I'm not super excited yet, but yeah, pardon me.
I'm excited, and there's no item shop that sells it for me right off the bat. Like, yes.
I don't know. See, it's without an item shop, it's definitely limiting the customizability of the game, and pretty much the only distinguishable differences between players is like the skills that you choose to use. And I don't think that's going to be enough customizability for me to stop playing like League of Legends or Dota. But it definitely is going to have, it's going to attract new players. It's going to be easy to play. So a lot of people are going to play it, but I don't think it's going to have the end game that League and Dota have with the real detailed talent builds and items that you can use to craft.
It'll
I will fall on that new banner. I will take it up and run with it.
It does. It'll be nice to actually play a MOBA style game with some of your Battle.net friends that won't follow you to those kinds of games, because you'll always have those kinds of friends who are like, nah, I don't want to.
It's not Blizzard. I don't want to play it.
Yeah, I'm too busy doing this. But if it's up in their face when they're playing their Blizzard game, it'd be like, hey, log on, and while you're playing it, you can still nag them, right? So
it'd be cool if you could invite players to play other franchise games in Blizzard, like if I challenged, like if you had a WoW, I'd be like, let's play WoW or something. Invite player to play WoW.
Yeah.
And then it groups you up. It logs you off Hearthstone and then puts you onto WoW and then gets you in a group or something. That'd be neat.
Something like that.
Hire this man, Blizzard.
And then Diablo.
No, we're not done yet.
Oh.
Actually, a very big important thing, I kind of alluded to, like, every Q&A session, like, beta isn't such a bad word. Like, it's mentioned. It's like they almost try to, like, preempt people asking about it in the Twitch chat. Like, when is beta? It's like, beta, don't worry, guys. Like, we want to get beta out as soon as we can, but we want to make sure, like, every time we do one of these test matches, the client doesn't break on us. Like, we're actually more nervous about the client breaking than actually playing the game right, which seems to be the whole, every Q&A, every live game they show, every recording, like, almost is like a disclaimer, but they really are chomping at the bit to get beta out to the public. And I don't know, we always have to take these things with a grain of salt, but there's been a Heroes of the Storm alpha client leak via MMO Champion. Had a whole bunch of pictures, and it's funny because the loading screen actually has alpha development or alpha build, whatever you want to call it, but has all the options menus, what options they have in there already, has the loading screens for the 4 different battlegrounds, and for, I guess, the initial heroes list they have everything from roll, difficulty, life regen, energy, all the way through range damage, splash damage, attack range, to the ability, the 2 tips, what's called. So there's actually a wealth of information, and the traits and all that other fun stuff. It's all MMO Champion. You can go there. If I remember, I'll put a link in the description in the Grindcast, and you'll be able to follow it there. So with all this information known, it was like, okay, at least the information there, they are testing, pretty much are going back and forth between characters and tweaking things, but it's just another small step towards the eventual closed beta, open beta, whatever they're gonna do. And we'll get it, try it, see if we like it. I'm sure we'll do many YouTube videos of me dying way too many times and Beta laughing at me and Quad going, man, you suck.
Man, how come they didn't make Murkai one of the champions? Murr.
So is there a I think that there's a new battleground. I don't think we've seen the Cursed Hollow. Have you guys heard of that one? I know.
Yes.
I know they've talked about the Dragon Shrine, but
The one that actually I wanted to play at BlizzCon was the Dragon Shire, but that wasn't on there. I think it was between there was Curse Hollow and the Haunted Mines were the two that we played. We definitely played the Curse Hollow.
Okay.
You and I. The Haunted Mines was the other one that had a rotation. Dragon Shire, I think they were still tweaking a little bit there, and Blackheart's Bay, I think they just were kind of saving for the videos. They didn't want to let people play everything at BlizzCon, if I'm not mistaken. Like, keep people wanting more, which people obviously do. You do.
Because I think the Blackheart's Bay was the most interesting looking of all of the BGs for Heroes of the Storm. Just because it had an interesting mechanic with the pirate ship, and people like pirates, right? So.
And if you kill the other player, not only do you get satisfaction, but you get to steal the gold, which can help you pay off.
The balloons. All right.
Doubloons.
You gotta collect the doubloons.
They might be golden doubloons.
Okay, doubloons to give to Blackheart to pulverize the other team. So that's a little interesting to us. There's a little bit more cutthroat action, a little bit more incentive just to go for the other team.
Yeah.
Where the other ones are more like PvE objective based. Not to say that Blackheart isn't, but there's a little more satisfaction in going after a player.
Encourage teamwork.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if they're gonna make you queue into like a random map, or if you're gonna be able to like specifically choose which map, and if there's gonna be a ranked mode in the game.
You know, that would be a good question. That'd be a good question to ask. You know what? I may. You know what? If I remember past the grindcast, I'll see if I can sneak it in and see if it gets answered.
Yep.
We'll have a little claim to fame. Like, he asked a question, and they answered it. Without we don't know. Alrighty.
Interesting. So apparently there's going to be, if you look at the options, there's a screenshot of a replay. So I wonder, it looks like you're going to be able to, I don't know if it's going to go live, but in the alpha client, it looks like you're going to be able to rewatch maps.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the replay is there. I mean, the observer, whether that's there in alpha, beta, or on release or after release, that's going to be in there because this game is so set up to be an esport. It's being developed by, as I said before, the Starcraft team, and it's using the same engine as Starcraft. It's just being tweaked for art properties and whatever else they needed to add to it for Heroes, but it's the same thing. So they're whether they're stating it or not, it's being geared as an esport kind of game that will hopefully have enough casuality, if that's even a real word, for people like myself who just want to come on and play for a game for 20 minutes and just have fun, not worry about, oh my god, I didn't move a split second more and that caused my entire team to wipe and we lost. And they all know it, I don't, and they're all yelling at me and I'm crying in the corner.
Yeah. Alright, now Diablo?
Yeah, let's go on Diablo 3, Rebirth Souls.
Okay, so Diablo. There's been some pretty big changes that have happened in the clients since I think we've last talked about Diablo. One of the first major things is that the most, if not all, of the placeholder icons have been replaced with real models, real icons, new placeholder artwork. So that's all gone. So the game feels 100% more polished at this point, just with that alone. Not even all the bug fixes that they've done, but they've also fixed a bunch of the broken legendaries. I know that I was trying out the Pride's Fall Helm, and that's the one that reduces your resource cost by 30% as long as you don't take damage. And I was testing that out on the PTR client. I just updated it and played it a little bit, and that buff goes away now when you take damage. So they fixed that. They're fixing a bunch of other legendaries that I know. They're probably fixing the mirror image helm as well, because I know that was causing server issues. So that was probably one of the higher ups on their list.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the game feels super polished at this point. It feels like it's ready. It's ready to be released like tomorrow. That's what it feels like. It feels like any moment that they could just go, hey, we're gonna go and sell the game. I mean, we already have a release date for the game, so it makes sense that they're trying to, fix it as much as we can, as much as they can before it goes live.
Yeah, we're almost exactly 5 weeks away from the launch date. So, yeah, the game should be in this condition by now. Because
Yeah.
sooner or later, you're gonna have to say, all right, this is it. This is gonna be Diablo 3, release version 2.0.0, and now everything after this is gonna be of course, the day one patch.
All right, I got an interesting topic I want to talk about Diablo 3, but I'll save it till the end. Let's talk about some of the changes that they've done to the client. So, they've also released this other patch that has nerfed the health pools of all the difficulties by a significant amount. And what they did to compensate for that is they made it so the mobs deal more damage instead. So basically, they wanted the game to still have that hack and slash feel that Diablo franchise is known for having, right? Kiting a monster around for 30 minutes doesn't feel very heroic, and so they're trying to go back to their roots a little bit. They nerfed the health pools of the torment difficulties, so yeah, you're gonna be able to clear it faster, but you're gonna die a couple times. So I like that aspect to it, but at the same time, there was people already doing Torment 6 the first week the game came out, the PTR client came out. So, I mean,
That was a bug, though, was it not?
Well, a lot of the people who were doing Torment 6, almost all of them, especially friends and family, Alpha with Crusaders and all that junk, were being done by bugs, glitches, certain items not working, or they were supposed to act one way, but they were acting totally different. So it's not that your point is null, but it's still the premise of is the switching of health for damage, is it swung too far? And they could always do it now or after the game is released, but you always prefer doing now. As far as, is it now going to be too accessible to get higher in the torment levels? Because I think that was a general trend with people. Like, people said they were doing torment 1, but now they were kind of in torment 2 or 3, or if they were in torment 2, they kind of went up at least 1, but it was a little bit more difficult to stay alive, so they had to do a couple of swapping damage for health. But that's not such a hard thing now with the Mystic stuff. This is act of balancing your stats around, and I don't know. It's like I'm kind of on the fence on a lot of decisions, not because I either like them or don't like them, but because I'm always thinking like how it's affecting everything else, and that's where I usually pick holes and have grievances.
yeah, it concerns me because I feel like there's not going to be a lot of longevity for the game again, and so that I think it's fine. If you can play Diablo 3 for a couple months and feel like you got your money's worth, then that's great. But I was really hoping that this expansion was going to bring some longevity. Maybe some PvP and maybe some ranked games, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen with the release of I was gonna say PoE, but
Ooh.
yeah, awkward.
Awkward indeed.
But yeah, I think the game's gonna be fun. I just don't think it's gonna last very long.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I from the very beginning, from what it seemed like Loop 2.0, Itemization 2.0, Difficulty 2.0, Paragon 2.0, this 2.0. It's like instead of it seeming like it was an expansion, it seemed like from the very beginning, Rebirth Souls, the development philosophy for Rebirth Souls versus Diablo 3 was
Diablo 4.
we in a way, yeah. I mean, essentially they were trying to redo all the
Remake it.
core the systems of the game to actually function well, be compared to what it was in Diablo 3, as Nevik from Shatterstone will call it, chocolate, not vanilla. So Diablo chocolate would be, whatever it was, but Reaper Souls is this whole reinvention of every aspect and every system, which is all fine and dandy, but you still have to give something beyond. And yeah, another act is expected, a level cap is expected, more and better gear is expected, but you need something else. And whether they want to admit it or not, PvP I think is a long off thought process. I mean, it was always funny to hear Josh give a rather simple yet almost like same exact answer and almost the same exact tone and words. Like, not a week goes by where someone in the office says, "Yo, where's PvP at? Like how long is it gonna be?" And I say, like, we're just looking for a way for it to like feel right and where we're happy and we feel that it's fun and exciting for the player and there's some kind of goal. Like, what I just said right there is almost what he said 2 or 3 times at BlizzCon, but it seems like they're focusing so much on the PvE experience and getting that down right. If PvE is coming, it's not going to be till a year out, I feel, because if they're going to bring in any kind of major additions, like real Nephilim trials instead of the cursed chests, which are kind of like watered down versions, and anything else they maybe bring in, like, God forbid, ladders or anything else. I hope they bring them in sooner, but it may be, again, if there's a BlizzCon this year, it may be another 6 months until BlizzCon is out, where they'll announce all that stuff, and it probably won't be until beginning of next year when that stuff is out. And then we're almost a year into the game by the time that stuff comes out. So, I mean, I hope for the best. The development team is working their asses off. They have surprised many of the Diablo 3 community in a positive way with how much they have done. It's just you're back to neutral stance. You're back to a solid core basic game, but you need to give more, because this isn't just the first release of Diablo 3. It's an expansion. We need something more. There should be something more expected than just, I get the game on Tuesday, I'm level 70 Wednesday, and I'm back to the gear grind on Thursday.
I almost feel like this is like the Vista, and then we need Windows 7, right? Like,
We
wow.
sure as hell don't need Windows 8 then.
no.
No, let's not overshoot.
Yeah.
But yeah, Diablo 3.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess just other quick things to note. We got word that legacy items will not be re-rolled. Enchantable in ROS. They'll basically, you won't be able to, which is kind of a sour note. I mean, people and speculators, I mean, they're always going to go on a whim. They're always using their money and their gold at a whim, but to wait this long to make that decision, it's kind of like, come on, you're not just going to make the decision now. You probably were trying to think of a fix to make the current items good, but it's just they have good communication in spurts, but if you're going to make a decision like that where it affects people with real money auction house now and gold now, where gold is actually be highly needed and useful in Rebirth Souls for re-rolling, like, just make it known. Like, don't wait a month, don't wait 2 weeks, just make it known. The uproar happened, but at least you save countless people's gold and they can actually use it in expansion rather than, oh, okay, now I have to go back to the real money auction house and buy gold then, and at a more expensive price because all the gear I got I can't re-roll, so it's basically worthless. It's like, just good communication at the moment a decision is known, and don't delay, I think, is the only thing I can add on. I mean, I am looking forward to the game, but I just want to make sure, like, I'm not setting my sights too high. I haven't played too much of the beta recently because I don't want to have beta burnout, and I just want to enjoy the game. Beta, as in you, Justin. You remember when we had Diablo 3 beta, and that thing lasted 8 months. And I think by the end of it, we were all like, "I just want to get past Leoric and not see that stupid text anymore. Like I just want to go past him." It was like so gnawing and annoying after like the 100th, 200th time you did it.
That's why it was so great that there was actually that bug that made it so you could go past Leoric, which
it was like,
actually needed.
Yeah.
It was like just enough to like get your fix, you know. It's just like, yes, we could finally do it. It
was like, oh my god, I'm not fighting zombies anymore. What's this, a charger? Ooh, oh my god. Trees? Oh wow, these trees, they suck. And they still suck to this day. But it was fun.
Although they didn't really hurt though at the time because we had like best level 13 gear possible.
So we were actually still over geared for the zone at that time.
We were over geared for the entire act, honestly.
Until they finally fixed blacksmithing, but even at that point, we were still pretty baller.
Yeah. We just re-rolled the same pair of pants a billion times to get the perfect one. But yeah, it was pretty fun.
We were level 13 twink, 17, I didn't even realize it.
It'll be interesting to see what the final boss fight's going to be like, too.
Yeah, that's the only thing we don't know right now. And that's where, like, all the lore is gonna go, what the fuck? That's where, like, the lore bombs are just gonna go out.
There's gonna be a couple bombshells that are gonna happen.
Left field, and all this other fun stuff. All right.
So I mentioned I had an interesting thing to talk about, so...
Oh boy.
I was reading this forum post on this website that I'm not gonna name, but... basically, it was talking about the theory that Blizzard didn't want to shut down the Diablo 3 auction house, but they were forced to shut down the Diablo 3 auction house due to illegal activities that were happening through the auction house and lawsuits that were happening against Blizzard, basically saying that the money that was being used through there was helping laundering money, and and basically there's a lawsuit filed against them saying that like if you want to like keep your auction house, you need to fill out like all this paperwork, pay all these fees, and it's just like basically it's just so much more hassle work, and people, you know, they're quote unquote giving the people what they wanted with the shutting down the auction house, but in reality that wasn't necessarily the motivating factor behind it.
Yeah, I mean conspiracy theories and all. I mean, I could jump aboard with that because it was rather odd that it just came out. The announcement came out of nowhere, but the announcement was announcing the shutdown 6 months into the future, which coalesces a week behind Rebirth Souls coming out. So it could be, you know, coincidence more than anything else. I mean, we don't know. Mm-hmm. But just from knowing, like, there was, like, weird zero-bid glitches on the both gold and the real money auction house. There was, a couple of months ago, there was a rash of where people just weren't getting their money, or they weren't getting their gold, or the items were disappearing. Like it would say completed, but people weren't getting the items, or if like the auction house got canceled. Like a whole slew of things were happening.
Yeah, let's not forget the gold dupe that went live.
Oh yes,
yeah.
That was awesome.
And
I did not participate in that.
No, the people that participated in that, at least the most successful ones, they all got banned.
A lot of people got away with it though.
Because they were smart, they didn't make it known, and they just kept their mouth shut, which is what you always do. But we don't employ that here at GrindExp.
I mean,
this was acknowledged by Blizzard, so I mean, this was an open letter from Blizzard saying we caught these players is taking the money. I mean, that's the only reason that I know of it anyway, because it was a Blizzard post. So it's not like we can't talk about it. It's a public thing that happened.
Condoning it or saying, "Oh, that's fine."
Yeah.
But I mean, the auction house was such a source of contention and
it
issues.
wasn't even the player's fault most of the time, because the bug was so simple. All you had to do was cancel an auction. Like, okay, you can't
and you
blame
got
your
your
player
gold
base
back
for taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair though, I mean, if you had 500 billion gold on your account, they're like, whoa.
That's quite a bit.
I don't think so.
I think in that case they should roll it back. Like, honestly,
it needed a rollback for sure.
Yeah.
Because there were thousands of players that sold gems.
Oh yeah, that whole
just
fiasco.
Like, I mean, there were people with unlimited gold, so they would just bought out the gems, even if they were being priced at 1 billion, 2 billion gold a gem. They were just buying them up anyway. So it should have been rolled back and not. But whatever.
Yeah.
It was scary.
And let's not forget that it took them an extra month to get the live auction house ready to go live after the game went live. It wasn't until the first week of June. Was it the first week of June? It may have even been the second week of June before the real money auction house actually came online. So from there, they should have seen that this was going to be a big issue if it took them that long to get it up and going. But for all the issues, the real money auction house and or the gold auction house, whatever you may think about it as being like the main issue of Diablo 3, it really wasn't. It was just it exacerbated many issues, and it exposed a lot of philosophy choices of the game development that were really more the source of the issues with the game than anything else. It's just, you have to think about it and go from there, like drop rates, or how the difficulties were worked were more issues than the real money auction house or the gold auction house. They were just facilitators, and for what it is, like for whatever fixes could have been made, the development team for Diablo 3 is constantly fighting the player human condition or human behavior, which is really hard thing to fight because people want to do what they want to do and not what someone tells them to do, especially with it comes to grinding gear or being the most efficient they can be. But when there's artificial roadblocks put in their way, they're going to find a different way, and even if it's a little sketchy, they're going to do it because it's the most efficient use of their time, not because it's the fun way to do it or the supposed way to do it. So that's been another big thing that the Diablo 3 team has been fighting and they've been getting better with it, but they've also kind of introduced a couple of roadblocks or procedures that I don't really kind of like with Rebirth Souls. But I'm still gonna get the game.
To Hearthstone, because we're at an hour.
Yeah, well, we always go like forever and ever and ever, but we don't want to. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
All right, so Diablo 3 Rebirth Souls. That's pretty much all about that. And now I'm just gonna, mute my mic for the next 15 minutes. I'm gonna let you two discuss Hearthstone because
15 minutes. Good choke.
Yeah.
Hearthstone.
Okay,
That's
you two.
Hearthstone.
Okay, so onwards to Hearthstone. You know what, Quad? You haven't been talking that much. You start. You tell us about your adventures in Legendary mode and everything.
The Hearthstones. What could I start with? Oh, with the Murloc noises. So the Murlocs. Wow, that's RNG.
Oh, I hate Murlocs.
That's one of those things where you win or you lose, and then you move on.
Yeah.
I've actually been trying to do the legendary grind, but it's not working out so well.
Yeah, I've noticed this season it's been pretty difficult to get higher rank. Maybe that's just because I'm playing a control deck, and it's not super great against Zerg decks. But
yeah, see, getting to rank 5, you can do that with maybe a 40% win-loss if you grind it out fast enough. So if you just play a faster deck to rank 5, and then once you're there, work on winning, you might do better.
So I don't think there's been any card changes since we last talked.
No.
Which is actually a good thing in my opinion. It actually really frustrates me every time they change a card. I understand there's some cards that pretty much needed to be changed, and one of them was Novice Engineers, just because it was being played in every deck, and it was a neutral card, and it was just too powerful. And it's good to see it that people aren't playing it as much now, so it basically did its job. But
I still think that was an unneeded nerf. I mean, I really like the Novice Engineer. It's a staple card.
right, and that was the problem. Everybody liked it, and it was too prominent in every deck.
If they're gonna go with that that way of thinking, though, say goodbye to the Scarecrow, because the Scarecrow should have 2 health and not 3 then, because everybody uses the Scarecrow and 2 of them.
Scarecrow?
Yeah. The Harvest Golem.
Oh, no, I don't use that card. That card's, at least not in the decks that I'm playing. Like,
Oh.
no,
Well,
it's Harvest Golem's, it's okay. I mean, it's pretty good, but
when you play control, or you play aggro, or you play mid-range, you usually want 2 Harvest Golems. And every matchup I play, I don't think a match goes by without one actually being cast.
yeah, I don't think it's as common as you think it is. I think maybe in the higher ranks a lot of people use it, but I think in general not everybody uses it. Everybody was using hard Novice Engineer, but I could see people. I don't think it's warrants a nerf. I guess we could let's talk about the meta right now. What's going on in the high ranking meta game?
What is going on? The Druids is going on.
Druids.
There's a Druid deck where you play, just 2 Wraths, 1 Savage Roar, and 1 Force of Nature, which is sort of like your combo to win the game. It's just Force of Nature, Savage Roar, and it's 14 damage.
Yeah.
You get your way there by, you play 2 Yetis, and you play Keepers of the Grove. You play the 4/5s that can attack. So you can silence them with your Keepers of the Grove to attack with them if you want, and then you also play 2 Defenders of Argus and 2 Sun Fury Protectors.
So is this Strife Crow's deck?
Yeah, everybody
Okay.
seems to be playing it.
Yeah.
Once
That's
you
'cause
hit,
it's a popular streamer.
Yeah.
Any popular streamer, people are gonna just copy their decks. It's kind of
it's very successful, and it's
CC decks for the win.
I did play 200 matches and recorded it all on a spreadsheet. 70 of those matches were against this deck, and this was recorded as soon as I hit rank 10. So it's almost half of the meta.
That's crazy.
It's a lot of players. Now, recently it's been dying off in the last week. I've been facing a lot more Control Warrior.
Oh yeah, it was just interesting because I had last grindcast we did. I said, Warriors, they are pretty much going to be non-existent next meta, and then here we are, 2 weeks later. Warriors are dominating the meta again.
Yeah.
What has changed since 2 weeks ago? So they nerfed the OTK, well, quote unquote OTK, Alexstrasza Gorhal haste or charge. So charge, you can't cast Alexstrasza and charge in the same turn anymore.
Yeah.
And then they changed some of the one-turn kills, but Warrior is still doing really good just because of their efficiency with cards. For example, Arcanite Reaper, common card, 2 swings to the face. Yeah, extremely efficient. But yeah, people are just still finding new ways to use these cards. Like, what's being used a lot in these decks is Armor Smith. Surprisingly, Armor Smith Shield Slam to start the game. Armor Smith has 4 toughness, which makes it one of 2 cards, I believe, that have that high toughness at 2 mana.
Yeah, him and Peggle.
Yeah. And it runs Peggle too. So it's just got these super high toughness Waller dudes, and it uses um, hmm,
The Taskmasters as well.
the Taskmasters and the Acolyte of Pains, which they all have high toughness and can just, they can absorb a few hits, dish out a couple damage, but all those high toughness guys are going to result in you getting a ton of armor stacks. And with those armor stacks, you now have 1-drop removal spells for pretty much anything. Like, I've had turn 4s where I drop a giant, but at that point it doesn't even matter because they have, they got 7 armor, and then they just like armor up, and then they shield slam my giant. So they take care of my 8/8 for 1 mana, and it's the most frustrating thing. Or they'll just run their Acolyte of Pain into it and then execute it. So they've got really good, really powerful, cheap removal spells, and they've got 4 of them. The only downside of that is when you can get the like a strong opening hand on them, and you can get rid of those armor stacks so they can't use their shield slams as much. But that deck's also going to be running 2 copies of Shield Wall, and so Shield Block, and so they can just out of nowhere they can get 7 armor. So they've got so Shield Block gives you 5 armor, then it draws you a card. So you drop that, you drop your hero power, and so you can deal 7 damage for 1 mana, and it's just like spews efficiency.
Yeah, with the Frothing Berserker as well, and the Whirlwind. Whirlwind's being good early or late. I mean, if they don't get their Whirlwind to remove early, they're gonna drop Hellscream later and enrage them with it.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is that Hellscream is definitely one of the stronger class cards, just because all they need is 1 enrage, and since the deck has so much card draw with Nat Pagle, Acolyte of Pain, Shield Block, they're going to be cycling all these cards, and they're probably going to have their Hellscream by turn 9, 10, and then that's 12 damage out of nowhere, and the Arcanite Reaper can already deal 10 by itself. It's like they just need a couple extra damage to, like, with the Core Con Elite that it has charge, so it's gonna deal its 4 damage no matter what, and it's just got extreme efficiency. So it's really interesting that the Warrior has actually come back, and not only has it come back, but it's been one of the most dominant decks, along with the Druid in the current meta. I think that's really interesting. Now, I was talking with Quad a little bit. We both have our own private decks that that we are used to kind of rank up in the current meta, and it'll be interesting to see. It's like every week we have a new deck that just totally dominates, and it's just people just run that. Now, my friend, he just hit legendary with the Murloc Rush deck, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
It seems like every time the meta changes, like one week the Murloc deck is gonna do horribly, the next week it's dominating, or I shouldn't say dominating the format, because I don't think Murloc deck is ever dominating the format, except like at release, and then people figure out how to play around it.
Its popularity based on who's watching what happened.
Yeah, it seems like you can kind of just sneak a Warlock deck in there occasionally and then do really, really well, and then people catch on to it, and then they start building their deck a little bit more defensively, maybe a little bit more AoE, maybe a little bit more cheap removal spells just to kind of deal with it. Like maybe instead of running a slam, you run like a cleave or something like that, something to just kind of deal with a couple Murlocs sitting on the field, give you some earlier advantage. So it's Murloc is dominant when it catches the other decks off guard. When those decks have to, like, when the late game decks have to battle each other out, they try to squeak every advantage here and there, and they try to have more late game cards, and then the Murloc deck becomes good again because they're building against late game decks, and then they can just like Zergon in there. I know I've lost multiple times to Murloc decks with my late game deck. It's just they've got you know, they got 15 damage on me by turn 3 or 4, and it's just like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
I can't. It's overwhelming. So, that's when the Murloc deck's gonna do well, and so we're seeing that a little bit again. You know, with
You get
these.
the rock paper scissors effect.
Yep, exactly, and I think that's a very healthy point for the meta to be in.
Yes, it's good. It's pretty rare that you see it now, but some people are still playing the Warlock Giant deck, where you draw into your
Yeah.
giants and drop those.
You're right. I don't see that as much. I wonder why, because I feel like that's still a very popular card or popular deck to do.
It's a very good deck, but the bug where you lay down your defender to give your guys taunt, your adjacent minions taunt, there's a bug where he lands on the opposite side and only gives it to one of them.
Yeah, that's true.
And that
I'm
bug
actually
has
surprised.
been happening quite often. I tried the Giant Warlock deck myself. I like it. I wanted to try it. It looked really fun. So I wanted to do something fun. I dropped from rank 3 all the way to 8 trying it. And I mean, 8 of my losses could be accounted to that bug in that time. Which was
that's pretty frustrating.
bad.
I feel like it's interesting that Hearthstone is really, really, really fun, and I love it. I love playing Magic, and I love playing Hearthstone. I love playing Hearthstone more than I love playing Magic now.
Yeah.
But it's strange that a lot of people like it, and it's definitely has tournament potential, but there's still those bugs, those game-breaking bugs, where, you know, either a card overlaps on itself, or you play the Argent Defender and the adjacent minions work. They are so devastatingly game breaking that it's hard to see this game becoming such a tournament game with those bugs in play. It's just
That's why we call it beta.
Yeah, exactly. It is beta, and that is a good point. And I imagine by release they will probably try to fix those bugs. But I know that there already is a ton of tournaments. I mean, I've been watching Fight Night, which is a pretty popular Hearthstone tournament that they're doing.
Yep.
I've been watching that pretty frequently, and I know there's tons of other Hearthstone tournaments. There's a website that's dedicated to just doing Hearthstone tournaments. Yep. And we've got the Mana Grind Major League Gaming, and I really wish that they would fix those bugs, and I feel like those bugs fixes aren't as high as on their priority as they should be, because honestly, it should be like #1 priority to fix those bugs.
Bugs before balance.
Yeah, and then I understand that, tweaking a number, like, changing a novice engineer from 2 to 1 HP is a lot easier than, fixing your code. But come on. That's unacceptable. I mean, yeah, you can't play that deck because of bugs. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
another deck that's absolutely worth noting is the Hunter Rush deck.
Ooh, yes.
I played 40 to 50 of them in my time, so that was like almost 30%, 25-30% of my matches were against the Hunter Rush deck. A lot of people play it. You run your charge minions into them and end the game as fast as you can. You win or lose, move up, and go.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know a lot of people were playing the giants, the giants that get cheaper based off the minions on the battlefield, right? But now people have figured out how the hunter deck works, and they pretty much won't drop more than 2 minions ever, because if you drop more than 2 minions, you're dead. Like, Unleash the Hounds just like straight up just like, it either kills your board and draws them 6 cards, or it
kills you.
It kills you, right? So since people have played around Unleash the Hounds, since people, like, everybody plays around Unleash the Hounds now, you see those giants not being played, and the current deck for Hunter has changed a lot. You know, when people saw Unleash the Hounds, you know, they were able to run those giants, but now those giants pretty much aren't being played in most Hunter decks that I've seen, just because it's hard to play them, because your opponent's not going to be playing a bunch of creatures at once. They're going to play one, maybe two, and so those giants aren't going to get, you know, aren't going to be cheap. That you need to have them cheap to play those cards. So, you know, that the Hunter deck is still shaping, still molding. It seems like the most common one, like you mentioned, is the Hunter Zerg deck. It'll be interesting to see what other decks emerge from Hunter. I know whenever I face a Hunter and they've got that bow in play, it's just like, okay, I guess I lose the game, because, you know, they play a couple misdirects and they play a couple explosive shots, and then those just get charges. And I didn't know this, but the charges of the bow, they charge up every time any secrets are revealed, so including your secrets. So, you know, if you're playing like a paladin and you've got the noble sacrifice going, and you know, your opponent activates that, then he's going to get a charge of his weapon. So it's almost better not to play your Argent Defender in that case, just to try to get rid of that bow, because that bow is just so powerful. And you can just hold on to it until you either draw another one, or you know, they trigger their trap, and, you know, they pretty much have to trigger one of your secrets in order to play that bow. There's something else I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, the RNG in the game. So if you watch the Fight Night, let's see here, it was Fight Night Season 3, Episode 5. It's when they do group battles, and basically what happens is it's Team Liquid Value versus Team Doggy House, and, you know, I'm not going to spoil anything, but basically RNG totally dominated one of the game, and one team was just completely one-sided, and you know, through Nat Pagel and some other RNG factors like Tinkmaster and Ragnaros, you know, people are basically complaining because it wasn't a fair game. Like everything that could have gone right or wrong in one way or the other did, and it happens, but it feels like, because of those cards being either way too good or way too powerful, that there's not a lot of skill involved in the game, essentially.
Yeah.
Is what people are telling me.
I've had a lot of matches where both people just drop a Pagel, and whoever's Pagel works more often wins.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think that's an interesting topic, because you don't have to play Nat Pagel. You don't have to have these RNG cards in your deck.
Absolutely.
And I feel like people that are complaining about these cards, like, they just don't understand it. Like, they just can't think, oh, I don't have to run Nat Pagel. I don't have to run Tinkmaster.
Yeah. I actually play my Nat Pagel over a second Animal Companion. Because Animal Companion is the same sort of RNG. I'm always getting the 2/4 beast out of it, so I always find a Nat Pagel. Even if he doesn't draw me a card, he has to be dealt with.
Yeah, exactly. Nat Pagel is very strong, and it is a topic that's worth discussing. But I feel like the RNG cards that are in place right now aren't too bad because it's RNG. Right? It's like,
yeah.
I think Nat Pagel might be a little bit too good just because he's got 4 toughness. And that's pretty much the only way that I feel.
3 would be perfect.
Yeah, I feel like 4 toughness, there's no 2-drop that can just, like, deal with it, basically. There's very few 2-drops that can take care of it. So it's a 2-drop that just, like, can't be dealt with until at least turn 3, probably turn 4. And then at that point, you know, you've drawn 1 or 2 cards off it. and it's done its thing, and it's absorbed a couple, it either removes a removal card from their hand, or it draws you a bunch of cards. So it's like either way, it's like win-win, right? So like it's super strong.
You find it very strong in Miracle Rogue. Miracle Rogue not being one of the very played decks. It doesn't do as well and takes a lot of time and thought to go through the correct plays to actually win. But Peggle works great in the deck. Not only drawing you a card, but he's usually a 4/4 because he gets Cold Blood.
Yeah, that is so ridiculous. So I was playing against a rogue. He dropped that. He dropped the Shield Bearer, and then he played a comboed Cold Blood on the Shield Bearer, and it was like, all right, this is really happening. Okay, guys, a 4/4 on turn 2, please.
Yep. It goes down, man.
Oh no, it could even be turn 1, right? You drop the Shield Bearer, you coin into a Cold Blood. Oh
Yep.
My god.
And you get a 4/4 taunt, and you bring in the pain.
Yeah. I've had that happen to me. I've also had priests. Like, doing ranked right now is so ridiculous. It's like, it feels like you're fighting that Peggle, right? You just like these crazy RNG games where, like, you see a priest and then he drops like a Shield Bearer, and you're like, okay, well, whatever. And then he drops a friggin' double health, and then he drops like Inner Fire on that, and you're like, well, okay, so that's a thing that just happened. Like, one.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not a realistic thing that should happen.
You just sort of write the game off as, whatever, it happened. I mean,
yeah.
just move on to the next one.
Crazy RNG game.
You get like the turn 3 or the turn 4 10/10 light wells pounding you down. You're like, well, if you don't have silence in your hand, you just move on to the next game.
Yeah. That's another thing that's interesting, is that I don't see a lot of people running silence unless they're druid, because they've got the free silence with the Keepers of the Grove.
Yes. Well, I usually handle that stuff easily with my deck.
Yeah.
Playing 2 owls and 2 misdirections.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. So I feel like I remember when the game first started, everybody was running silence. Like, you had to run silence, and I think that had a lot to do with the Drakes being way more good than they were.
Oh yes, they were huge.
They were so game-breakingly stupid. I can't believe that existed. Turn 4, let's put a 10/10 into play. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Earth shock or bust.
Yeah. Luckily, the Drakes are way more balanced now, so that's good.
Yeah.
But they're still really strong in the right situations. I guess that's it. That's all I have to talk about Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Balance changes. More balance changes. We'll see.
Yep. I'm excited. One more quick thingy. They did announce
Really?
that they're going to be adding a new play mode to the game that's going to allow you to unlock new cards. So.
Oh.
Yep.
New cards, as in cards that don't currently exist.
I believe that is what they said. Yep. And people were asking, like, is there going to be a way to play the quote unquote vanilla Hearthstone? And they said no. So, when they add expansions or add new cards, you're not going to be able to play the original one. You're going to have to play with the current set of cards. So.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty excited. We have done so much testing with these cards. I feel like I'm almost limited at this point, even though I'm still turning out new and fun decks. There is a limitation to how much a 350 card pool game you can have.
Yeah.
There's literally a cap.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yay! Good Hearthstone discussion. I was taking it all in one
Yeah.
ear and trying to
Nope.
keep it from spewing out the other.
Yeah, I haven't seen you play Hearthstone in a while, Dread. What gives?
I'll back him up and say that he's not even on the Minecraft server right now, so he must have been doing something.
Oh man,
Maybe he was listening.
Secret
No.
Project Dread.
I was totally listening.
All right.
Nat Bagels and Priest X on my.
Pretty much. Oh god, I hate Priest X. So I guess that's it, right? I guess we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Had a nice thorough discussion on Hearthstone. You know, glad we saved it for the end because I'm like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be a while. All right, but yeah, so that wraps it up for this. I guess we'll call this the Murlocic or Murtastic episode with all the funny stuff. Yep, there we go.
Murloc doubloons.
we'll think
there
that's what.
should be a Murloc champion in Heroes of the Storm.
Oh man, that'd be
Old
great.
Murguy.
Yeah.
You know they'll probably work it into the Marine. You know, the Murloc Marine that they give for
yeah.
stuff for Wild Pet. They'll probably make that one of the skins. If they haven't,
Yeah,
the
that'd
guys
be
suggest it. But anyways, for Quad and Beta and myself, Dread, thank you for listening to this GrindExp number 5, and I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.
Peace.
Ciao.